And we start with this, a Fox News alert. President Trump revealing Iran has released an American citizen who was banned from leaving the country since December of 2024. He calls it a gesture of goodwill from Iran.
So the release comes after the United States carried out another round of strikes on Iranian military sites Wednesday.
Wow, 5 straight days. Mike Tobin joins us live from Tel Aviv with the latest. Hey, Mike.
Morning, Brian. Morning, gang. A lot of developments out of Iran. Let me start out with the U.S. on the offensive, firing deeper into Iran than it has in the past. Some of this information now is coming from Iranian state media, not confirmed by the U.S., but air defense is triggered very close to Tehran, showing U.S. forces striking for the north, and they have in this round of fighting. Also, barracks for Iran's 388th Mechanized Infantry Brigade were hit. The town of Ranshar to the southeast, that brigade operates tanks and armored vehicles. Also, as part of the blockade, the U.S. has now fired on a commercial ship. It's a tanker flagged out of Curacao named Belma. U.S. Central Command says the tanker was headed toward Karg Island, Iran's primary oil export hub. The ship ignored multiple warnings. U.S. aircraft fired Hellfire missiles into the smokestack and disabled it. This after 2 commercial tankers were turned around the previous day. The propaganda ramps up on the streets of Tehran. One example of the propaganda, there's a mural of the late Senator Lindsey Graham with devil horns painted on his head. And there's another giant mural of President Trump in a coffin. President Trump was asked yesterday what he thought about these threats toward him. He says he doesn't spend much time thinking about them. Still, Iran has extended an olive branch. An American with dual citizenship in Iran, jailed while visiting family in 2024 and charged with espionage, has now been released. A lawyer for Dina Karari posted, "This would not have happened but for the extraordinary and relentless efforts of President Trump. Dina is now safe and traveling back to the United States." The president posted that the U.S. appreciates the goodwill gesture from Iran. Guys, back to you.
That is unbelievable. Mike, thank you for showing us those images. That's what's happening in Iran right now.
I mean, it's the same thing what they were doing the other day when they asked to bury the supreme leader and they were calling for the assassination of the president and death to Netanyahu, death to America and Israel. They continue to say that they want peace and that they want to open up the strait. And, you know, they're not bad actors, but when you see them, in real time, that doesn't look like a peaceful regime.
No.
So they've expanded their list of strikes. They're going deeper into the country. Last night they hit the Artesh ground forces, the 388th Mechanical Assault Barracks in Sistan and Baluchistan province. These are the types of soldiers that would suppress an uprising inside their country. They're also hitting everything in and around the strait, the things that would open up the strait. They are actually plowing the ground to take back that strait, but they got to do a little bit more attack. So I was a little stunned yesterday that, you know, when Vice President Vance was on with Joe Rogan talking for hours, he brought up that basically we had a deal going, Iran kind of breached the deal, but there are people on the right that just want to have war, like his predecessor, Mike Pence. But if he's going to say that, that also includes Tom Cotton and Roger Wicker, because it comes down to that memorandum of understanding that he signed that put out in that rule number 5. It says that Iran can control, along with Oman, will control the strait. And that's what Iran is going by. We never in a million years would have signed off on that. Verbally, we didn't. But if you look in the writing, you go to Rule 5, and it says it there. So it's his document in many ways that made things worse right now and put a whole gray area into what they can and can't do. Now, Iran's up to no good 24 hours a day. But why give them something that allows them to do something that's so unpalatable to the rest of the world? Take international waters and toll them.
And then there's this American citizen. She's a dual citizen. She's 53 years old, the one that was just released. She was there visiting her family a year and a half ago, and authorities seized her passports, and they placed her under strict exit bans. And then they slapped her with espionage charges after the conflict started and collaborating with a hostile state. She is successfully returning to the United States, but her attorney says she was never physically jailed, but she did endure severe physical and psychological hardship. This is what the regime does. And Donald Trump was asked by Edward Lawrence here at Fox, was asked if he would wipe out the regime like he did ISIS and the IRGC. Listen.
I wanted to ask you, Mr. President, about Iran and on Iran. You came to the conclusion that you couldn't negotiate with the IRGC. Does that mean that you might wipe them out like you did ISIS?
Yeah, it does. We will see what's happening. We received a call just as I was coming here. They want to meet. They always want to meet. But, this should have been done by other presidents for many years, for 47 years, but really a lot longer than that, and it wasn't. And I never understood why, but now I do. Because if you're not going to do it the way I'm doing it, you're never going to make a deal with them.
I just think people need to understand, or maybe the Iranians need to understand, that eventually the military runs out of these small targets, right? And the president is always going to respond to aggression. So eventually you're going to get those more extreme targets. He doesn't want to harm the civilians. And what I mean by harm the civilians, if he does the bridges and power plants, that's going to affect the energy supply for the people there. So he doesn't want to do it. But eventually, after they re-hit these targets, they're eventually going to escalate to the bridges and power plants. So, he's tried it. It's admirable of the president to try to get peace. But the Iranians have a vote as well.
This is the first president that ever took it to Iran instead of talking to Iran. He's taking it to Iran, saying the door's open to talk. But just understand, and I don't think our negotiators understand that, there are no moderates. They have different roles to play. One comes off as the bad guy because they are. The other one comes off, hey, let's talk about it. I got bad guys on my left. But together they string it out in order to hurt the president in the midterms and get oil prices high. That works to their advantage. But every day they're losing more of their military arsenal till they degraded to the point where they're not going to be able to rebuild it.
Yeah, we're just firing at will at this point. They have no control at all.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.